I am a photographer, but I'm also a sailor from Iowa. Yeah, that's right. For just a moment, I want you to close your eyes and just think about what sailing in Iowa looks like. I would imagine some pretty funny pictures are coming to mind, and yet, this is one of the most important parts of the story that I'm going to tell you this evening. I grew up on this beautiful blue lake called Okoboji in northwest Iowa. It's a glacial lake. It was created by a receding glacier some 18,000 years ago by a changing Earth's climate. My mother taught me to sail as a little boy on this lake, and you can barely see on the stern of my sailboat, the name of my boat was Help Upside Down. And you can imagine I needed that quite a few times growing up. But I continued to sail and to race into early adulthood. In fact, I still do. But I chose outdoor photography as a profession because it matched my search for new images with my boyhood dream of sailing the world's oceans. Now, people always ask me, David, you're from Iowa. What was your pathway to the sea? And the answer is really easy. I met a Minnesota hog farmer and the rest is history. And I'm not kidding. I met my sailing mentor, Roger Swanson, on his southern Minnesota farm, just 35 miles from Lake Okoboji. Roger has now passed away, but not before becoming and being selected America's finest offshore voyager of the past 3 decades, sailing on board his boat, Cloud 9. Roger taught me about the bigger elements that compose the sea, about the powerful weather systems that compose the Earth's climate systems, and to look out over that horizon and constantly to be searching for something new. Together we sailed to Antarctica in 1992, and we became one of the first small sailboats in history to ever sail below the Antarctic Circle. In 1994, we sailed north to the Northwest Passage. The route from the Atlantic goes up the west coast of Greenland and over the Arctic Circle, then travels west through Baffin Bay and enters the archipelago of islands and channels that compose the Canadian Arctic. And then over the top of the entire northern coast of North America, eventually you get to the warmer waters of the Pacific. This is a treacherous small boat journey that had never been completed by an American sailboat in history. So, methodically, we worked our way up north, dodging little bergy bits along the way and waiting for the ice to clear out of Baffin Bay to the west. Along this path, we could stop on the nice days and photograph and sail close by beautiful icebergs along the coast of West Greenland. When the time was right and the ice cleared out of Baffin Bay, we sailed west. We're now 500 miles north of the Arctic Circle. We entered the Canadian channels and the Northwest Passage began. Now, you know you're not in for a nice summer of sailing when you see these kinds of clouds at the entrance. I guarantee it. And even more so, the gravity and the history of our expedition really came to life when we entered Erebus Bay in the Canadian Arctic. This is where the 1845 Sir John Franklin expedition overwintered, and the first of 129 men died on this journey. A solemn place to be. Would our fate be the same? Remember, in 1994, there was no GPS. There were barely personal computers. We had no satellite communication or anything. We were pretty much alone in the Arctic, and we found ourselves hopelessly trapped and pinned in the ice. The frozen Arctic Ocean is what's called pack ice. And as you can see, it was very thick in 1994. There were no openings or what we call leads where we could get our boat through into the southern channels to complete the passage. We were pinned and trapped every single way that you can possibly be in the ice in 1994. It was very difficult to escape, but by the end of August, that's our weather window, we said we could not make it, and we had to escape and retreat from the Arctic. The Northwest Passage had won again. Now, just for a moment, let's fast forward and think about the winter of 2006 and 7. Now we do have personal computers. We have the internet. I had the same access to the scientific information and satellite data that all the scientists did that were studying the far north. And it looked like something was happening in the Arctic. There was just less ice. Something else was also happening, strange occurrence, in the upper Midwestern lakes that winter. They weren't freezing. For the first time in recorded history, lakes like Okoboji did not freeze the entire winter. So all the way from the upper Midwest into the Arctic, it was warmer. There was less ice. We decided it was time to brave the elements and go to the Northwest Passage again and give it a shot. So in the summer of 2007, we took off again. Same route, from Newfoundland up the west coast of Greenland we went. At the little town, the little hamlet of Upernavik, we decided to make the break and head west across Baffin Bay to go to the Northwest Passage. Well, very rough sailing, but guess what? Absolutely no ice, no pack ice in Baffin Bay whatsoever. We entered the Canadian Arctic in Lancaster Sound, the beginning of the passage. Absolutely no ice whatsoever. We came to the exact same place where we were in 1994. Guess what? Absolutely no ice in the Northwest Passage in 2007. Even the polar bears were confused. Just as confused as the crew of Cloud 9. We were shocked. We were absolutely, utterly shocked by what was taking place. Eventually, we would sail the entire route in 73 days, nearly 7,000 miles, unheard of. We completed the Northwest Passage. We became the first American sailors in history to ever complete this famous historical route. But I felt like we got an advantage by a change in the Arctic climate with just less ice. How much less? Roughly a 40% loss of ice in just 13 short years to our northern polar ice cap. This profoundly changed my life. I can't even begin to tell you. I was shocked. And you see, I had always been chasing new photos, looking for a new adventure, looking out for what was across the next horizon. Climate change was just a theory that was tossed about by scientists. I had now met this theory face to face. It was real. In 2009, I was honored to be selected as part of the Around the Americas expedition aboard the research vessel Ocean Watch. I would be traveling with a team of scientists and educators all the way around the Americas, 28,000 miles. But first of all, we were going to head back to the Arctic and do the Northwest Passage from the west to the east this time. Along this now familiar route, I became the first American sailor in history to ever sail the Northwest Passage in both directions. I have had a rare opportunity to both observe and record planetary change in real time, right now. In my journal, as we exited the Arctic, I wrote, "We have seen the end of an era and the beginning of a new one. The golden age of exploration has come to a close, and the beginning of a new era is just starting, the study and change of the Earth's climate." Now, somewhere along the line, someone called me the accidental explorer. I guess because I'm from Iowa, I met a farmer, and that was my pathway to the sea. And this allowed me to have the experience of my discovery of a changing climate. But we are all accidental explorers, everyone here, young and old. Challenge yourselves. Look over that horizon always for something new and see what you can discover along your own path. Thank you.